Right. So sorry, we lost connection there. We'll see if anybody pops back over. They may pop back in. They may not. Anyways, this will be the next video in the series if anybody sees it. But the point is from that previous interaction. The point is that the ChatGPT at this point, for example, doesn't actually know this information. It can't actually argue for this information. It can't actually argue against this information. It doesn't actually have the tools at this point to make these levels of sophisticated arguments for or against the most sort of consequential aspects of Buddhist thought. It can make very bland, broad sort of platitudes having to do with welcome back, welcome back. So it can make these sort of very broad, bland kinds of platitudes about Buddhist thought and Buddhist practice. It can sort of repeat some of what these arguments are, but frankly, it can't even tell you where it got the information. It can't tell you uh, reliably where you can get more information about it. It can't accurately quote the information. So, for goodness sake, if you put ChatGPT in the mind of a robot and you put robes on it and you have people come and ask it questions, it I mean, what the hell are they going to be learning from this thing? The trouble is that the types of mistakes that these systems make are actually subtle, and then they're just trained to gaslight you. It's unbelievable. It's completely unbelievable. They're trained to gaslight you like you wouldn't believe. So yeah, how do you? I think this step is premature. I think the step of putting the future of Buddhism, even in part, in the hands of AI systems is premature. Eventually, maybe it'll work, but right now, I think this technology is still not refined enough. So again, hopefully you'll find this after you've found the little debate portion at the end there. Maybe I'll stitch these two together at some point. Um, But the overall point is, again, ChatGPT just can't keep up with a real debate on any of these subjects. It doesn't know what is at stake. It doesn't know what the positions are. It doesn't know what the opposite positions are. It doesn't really know how to defend the position against any kind of significant challenge. I know how to argue against the position because I know what the position is and I know how to defend it, right? So if we're talking about selflessness or emptiness, we're talking about the most difficult aspects of Buddhist thought and practice, or amongst the most difficult aspects. And frankly, if you're trying to do anything of consequence with philosophy or thought, right now, ChatGPT and AI systems in general just don't have what it takes to get into the minutia and detail of those things. Maybe they will at some point, but it's still way too early. So, in conclusion, I was actually wrapping up, so it's sad that the stream crashed. But in conclusion, uh, bottom line is, I think it's a premature move to be putting robes on robots. All right. Well, Cleric, again, good to see you again. Maybe some other people will find the old stream. Hopefully, in the playlist that I put together, they'll find this one next and won't be too disappointed that the previous one crashed suddenly. Um, so, yeah, these are my initial thoughts on Buddhism and AI. Roughly speaking, to just recap what we went over today, first we looked at, well, is it possible, is it conceivable that robots have something beyond mechanical intelligence? And I argued I don't think they could, for the reason that consciousness doesn't share properties in common, and you can prove this with very simple experiments. Doesn't share properties in common uh, with physical stuff in the way that you would want it to if your trying to show that robots have consciousness. Yeah. So that was one major point. Another major point is from a Buddhist perspective, being reborn into an inanimate object is not a realm of rebirth. There are in the Buddhist canon sometimes very rare cases where somebody takes rebirth in an inanimate object, but generally speaking, even plants are not considered to have consciousness. They mimic conscious beings, but they are not. They don't have a private world of internal experiences, according to the great Buddhist saints. And then just looked at sort of practically, if you talk to ChatGPT, it still just can't do certain basic stuff related to understanding language. It does a very poor job of seeking out sources, quoting them accurately, and then when you ask it to argue in great detail about any position of significance in Buddhism, um, it can't actually keep up with the arguments. It doesn't know what the counter arguments are, and all it can really do is present the blandest, most surface level arguments and positions related to that thing that you can imagine, as you saw at the end of the previous stream. So, uh, in brief, therefore, I think putting robots in robes and so on and having them answer questions and even having AI answer questions on behalf of uh, sort of the Buddhist canon as a general principle, I think is premature. Probably at some point when this technology is better, it'll be a very helpful starting place for some people to find more information about Buddhism. But it's not we're not quite there yet. Okay, hopefully, I can figure out how to stitch these two streams together, or at least put them in the playlist together so that you can see the first one. But that's it for this morning. Cheers.